sorry, I was still on with the previous interview.
Oh, no worries, man. It happens all the time, man. First off, man, I want to say I'm happy I'm talking to you. I called the number before, and I was one number off, and some other guy answered it, and I remember I gave him like the whole intro of my show before he told me it wasn't him.
That's pretty fucking funny.
Yeah, he was just like, I think I was like, he thought I was like a spammer on a game show or something.
You want a free car?
Yeah. I'm like, welcome to the Metal Mixtape in Ashland, Oregon. He's just like, oh man, okay.
What do I get? You're like, who is this?
So yeah, today's already awesome, dude. So Scott, my name's Omar Rodriguez. I host a heavy metal show in Ashland, Oregon called the Metal Mixtape, where we showcase local bands, promote local bands, promote every artist in the world because we love music.
Wonderful.
So I want to say, first off, dude, thank you so much for being on my show. About a year ago, I had the pleasure of talking to Sean, and he's super amazing. So I'm super happy to be talking to you right now.
He is super amazing. You know, he doesn't get enough credit because he doesn't ever talk to anybody. But yeah, I mean, he's the guy writing all the songs. You know.
Well, you know what? He helped me out a lot because a year ago, I was the one, a lot of times getting like my contacts, and trying to, talk to artists I really want to have on the show and, little show in Ashland. And Sean gave me a chance. So huge shout out to him.
All right. Hell yeah.
So Scott, of course, you have your new album coming out, Graveyard Confessions, coming out September 3rd, 2021, which is absolutely badass. But I know a lot of times my listeners, they always want to know where you got your passionate spark, because you don't just wake up with a music career. You started from somewhere. There's trials and tribulation, but there was always that one spark as a kid, whether you're motivated by a friend, a family, or a band. Tell me the first time as a kid or teenager where you kind of got hit with all the music right in your face, and you decided that, you know what, I think I'm going to start some music.
Well, it probably came initially from a kind of a place of rebellion. I think, I grew up in a military family, essentially. So, it was all very strict, very orderly. Anything like screaming and death metal, of course, not allowed. That's not something that really happened. So I think for me it was this intersection of, my mom was an English teacher for 25 years. She was also she played piano, and she saw I had a musical interest at a young age. Oh, yeah. And really, she always had the Beatles on and something, or like Roy Orbison or Dick Dale, and pretty benign music. But if you think about it, kind of from a songwriting standpoint, it's actually a great place to start, because the Beatles, they're really kind of credited with pop structure and rock structure as we know it today. They kind of get that credit for some of that. So I think from a young age, I was hearing, a lot of these classic rock songs, Jimi Hendrix, The Doors, stuff like that. And so that's kind of where my interest in melody and music came from, and I started to just, I started to love Beatles songs and Elvis songs as a kid. I just really enjoyed them, And then as I grew up, I have an older sister. She's, a number of years older than me, and she was super into grunge, and so I really gravitated to grunge. That was kind of the first music I was into that wasn't my parents' music, And then that's where the kind of rebellion started, and, so my parents were kind of anti-metal, and it was sort of something that, I wasn't allowed to get the records and anything like that. And so that kind of drove me to, like, really become, like, this metal fan, and then by 15 and 16, that I'm like an unstoppable metal fiend, I'm really, really into fucking Cradle of Filth and Jimmy Bogear, and that had come from, after grunge, I got into Manson and White Zombie and KMFDM and Rammstein, and then from there I found Cradle and Dimmu and Emperor and Satyricon and Dissection and Immortal. And I remember those bands blew my fucking mind because I just love the theatrical aspect. I love the melody. You know, the black metal bands had that melody.
Oh,
you know, maybe
gosh,
it goes back to surf rock when I was a kid. You know, surf rock and black metal, they're neighbors, man. You might not know it, but they're neighbors. You put a blast beat behind some surf rock, and suddenly it's black metal. You know, it's a weird thing. So, you know, all that stuff came together, and you know, here I am. And then you combine that with, you know, I was a real loner. Going back to the small town stuff, there was no one around to hang out with, but I found some kids that would make some noise. You know, got a friend that plays bass, a friend that can barely play drums. So let's make this thing happen. And, you know, and I was in a bunch of bands that never went anywhere before Carnifex, before I met Sean. And I think it was just, my life kind of had two paths. It was basically, you know, go into the, you know, service, or you better come up with something pretty great because, you know, you're not going to college. So I kind of got on this, I just went on this own path where I had music took off, and then I just left on tour for 15 years. And and here I am. I mean, I guess that's kind of the scoop.
Dude, I absolutely love that, man. You know, it just shows that fire, absolutely. And I love you talking about the band you're into too, because yeah, I agree with Dimmu Borgir. I remember like seeing their show at Dynamo a long time ago. I think they still had Hellhammer then, but it was just such a massive show. But hey, what I want to know, man, is like, what was the first big show you guys got? You know, that kind of made like you and Sean, or, you know, in the band kind of go like, hey guys, I think we can take this somewhere. Was there like a big show offer or a big tour offer that kind of like put you guys on the spot and you guys had to like just be like, all right guys, we got to knock this out of the park?
I think it was cumulative. You know, if you kind of go back to the history of deathcore or whatever,
yep.
You know, you got to go back to the beginning and you look at where we came out of, the scene we came out of. So it's 2005 when we started. August 25th, 2005 was our first day of practice. I remember because it was right after my birthday. My birthday is August 21st. And we really, it was like, look, we love Bleeding Through, we love Cannibal Corpse, we love Slipknot, and we love Cradle of Filth. Let's make a band. And that's kind of what happened. And then, you know, we got Suicide, who essentially was in Temecula. And if you look at where Fallbrook is, you look at where Temecula is our neighboring city. So we're like 15 minutes away from Suicide Silence. And then you look at As Blood Runs Black, they're from South Los Angeles. You know, they're 2 hours away from us. Winds of Plague, they're from Upland. They're an hour and a half away from us. You know, J-Fact, they're from Phoenix. They're 6 hours away, but they would always play SoCal, you know. So it's like that original kind of group, that's where we came from. And then I remember we would play with these backyard shows. You know, Carnifex and Suicide Silence playing the background, the backyard in Moreno Valley in, you know, November of 2005. It's like, I remember that stuff, you know. Suicide's first drummer, Suicide's first bass player, you know, it was Still Batkins on bass. They had their drummer was wearing the Joey Jordison mask. You know, I'm talking when we were big, we were all just big nobodies, you know. And so that's like where we came out of. And then I think, I don't know, for it to sort of spark, it was just, there were other things going on. It was more at work than just us, and I think we knew that because it's like, you know, we're not, you know, musical geniuses or anything. We were literally just having fun, and then all of a sudden it's like, holy shit, there's fucking 300 people at this garage show. That's weird. Wow, you know, we got 1,000 plays on Light on My Face on MySpace today. Like, wow, that's kind of a trip, you know? And then we started doing tours with Burning the Masses, if you remember that band. We did a tour with Legacy of Pain. We did a tour with the Irish Front. You know, I'm kind of going back into the MySpace classics here.
Oh, yeah.
But we would go and do these shows, and, dude, there'd be 400 or 500 people. Like, so it's like, okay, like, this is a thing. And then it's like, yeah, you know that 100 shirts that we printed up? Well, we just sold all of them. We're like, what do you mean? We got like 3 more shows. So, well, they're all gone. We sold them all tonight. And we haven't even played yet.
Oh,
And
man.
so that happens enough, and you're like, oh, okay, there's something going on here. And then when me and Jesse from Amir, Jesse Khatib, the former guitar player, we did that, we both booked on MySpace. He booked the East Coast, I booked the West Coast. We met in the middle. We did the Carnifex Amir Unite and Conquer tour, and basically every night of that tour was packed. You know, and I think it was in that moment. And then we got a album offer from Victory after that, and it's like it was then that we realized, like, oh, we're part of a thing. Like, we need to walk through some open doors here because we've been in a bunch of bands that never went anywhere before. This thing's going somewhere. Let's go, and we did.
Dude, that is so awesome, and not only awesome, dude, but that's inspiring. You know, especially like as you were telling your story, I was like closing my eyes, like. And I could imagine like you just every night going like, oh man, like this is catching fire, like something special's happening here, and yeah, especially garage shows, you know, with a bunch of kids and all that. There's a different energy about it too, you know, and I think that's just kick ass.
It really was. It was really organic, man. Like, I know that's a dumb overused word, but I'm like, I don't know if that happens right now. Certainly not with the pandemic. Clearly, nobody's playing anywhere. It's just all online. But it also still feels very, maybe a little contrived. And that's a bit negative. But it kind of looks like everybody's reading from the same Communications 101 marketing handbook now. And every band you see that comes out, you know, they're very slick. Everyone's, you know, oh, man, they got the sick bit. They got the sick look. They got the cool Instagram, you know, graphics, you know. It's like, all right, I mean, that's cool. Everyone's doing it. They want to reach their people, by all means. But if I think back to that moment, like, it was so raw, man. And maybe because the internet was, like, on that cusp of change, 05, 06, 07, you know. But it was, like, still very raw. Like, it was just happening. Like, nobody kind of knew. Like, now I feel like you can go, hey, guys, we're going to do A, B, and C, and most likely we're going to get D. And everyone can look around the room and look at other examples and go, yeah, you're right. That's a good plan with a likely outcome. We weren't doing that in 05, and I don't know that we could have done that. It was all very seat of the pants, you know?
Yeah, no, and I completely, I'm with you there about, you know, because nowadays, you know, I remember, like, I was getting into metal around, like, 2003. I went to my first Fox Fest and everything. But back then, you know, we didn't have all these phones to record from, you know, this whole access, you know, like we were talking about, like the internet, like, because it just shot off immediately, you know, after, like, they couldn't control iMesh and Kazaa and all those places that were just streaming them. They were just like, all right, if we can't control these big people out here trying to take music, then we're just going to have to create our own platforms, you know? And and, you know, I talking to bands like from the 80s, they always tell me that back in the day, you would see a flyer and you didn't know how the band looked like until you got there. Now you can pick up a phone and you can read the whole band's biography, go through their whole discography, and literally watch every live show. But before, you know, it's like, oh man, like, look, there's a band called Slayer, you know? Like, there wasn't, like, a computer or something to look up. It was that feel, and, like, you know, nowadays, you know, I'm happy when I see people that don't constantly have their phones out, you know, because, you know, it takes away, like, you know, from that organic feeling for music, I feel sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said for, I guess, a tipping point on overexposure. You know, it's like, think about it, when you're watching a great movie, part of what makes it great is suspension of disbelief. You know, if you actually picked apart the whole thing, or if you had, you know, a camera that was 20 feet back that you're like, oh, there's where the camera is, there's where the boom operator is, oh, there's a guy behind that moving that thing, oh, that's funny, I didn't know that. If you do that, then you're watching something very different. I don't know that you're watching a movie being made, and maybe you're watching a movie within a movie, so I guess you could pick it up that way, but you could kind of carry that over to music, and if you just see everything from all angles under a big, bright, white light. You might kind of be like, wait a second, this looks like five pretty average people. Well, who gives a fuck about them? You know what I mean? And you'd probably be right, because that's not what being a band is. Being a band is being more than the sum of your parts. It's the cohesion of your group creating something that you can't create on your own. But if you kind of overexpose and overanalyze everything, maybe you can lose that, you know.
Bro, yeah, you just blew my mind. that last sentence. I hit a fat bomb right before this interview, and you just like threw me into the universe.
Good.
Like,
that's what I'm here for.
I was like, cohesiveness within the team to create something that they can't create on their own. I'm just like, damn, he just spit bars.
Well, that's what being a band is, and I can tell you from experience, turning yourself over to the group, you know, like sitting down and saying, we're going to write an amazing fucking Carnifex song. There's so much more power in that than saying, you know, Sean's sitting down going, I need to write another song, great one for me, you know. He doesn't do that. That's part of why this record's so fucking good, is because, you know, nobody had any reservations. Nobody thought about themselves. The I didn't exist anywhere. All of us were like, this record is for us and the fans, and it has to be our best Carnifex output, whatever it takes to get there. And that was our mindset, and I think that shows on the album.
Dude, I absolutely love that, dude. You know, and coming out with so many albums, you know, I always say, like, you know, it's like a lot of times, like, we grow up, you know, when we start, like, the first record and growing up, because, you know, recording becomes easier and all that. Like where do you think how you've grown with this album, maybe compared to the first albums you started?
Well, you know, we're self-taught musicians, so I think that's one thing that's important to know, is that, you know, no one went to Berklee School of Music. No one has. It's a lifelong music teacher. You know, yeah. I took a year of piano lessons when I was 12. Okay, that's something. I can barely remember any of it now. You know, and then, you know, same with Sean. He has, you know, he learned to play guitar because his brother taught him some Blink-182 songs on an acoustic when he was like 14 years old. Like, that was literally his musical education prior to just educating himself on his own through tab books, listening to other bands, and just picking the guitar up for the last 20 years. You know, the riffs, you know, so Dead in My Arms was primarily written by Sean. Graveside Confessions is primarily written by Sean. It's the same dude, and he just, you probably hear, like, man, it's so there, but it's different. And it's because we didn't come into this band fully formed. You know, we came into this band as just who we were in that moment, but we didn't come into this band authentically, legitimately. We're not those dudes that are like, I don't even listen to metal, bro. Like, bullshit, we fucking listen to metal all the time. I was listening to metal this morning. It's like, metal's my favorite type of music. I love deathcore. I listen to deathcore. I enjoy writing it. I enjoy performing it. I don't know if all the bands could say that. Even beyond deathcore, like metalcore bands, like how many metalcore or other metal band guys do you hear? It's one thing that I hear from Randy all the time in Lamb of God, and I just don't get it. Dude hates metal. He'll tell you all the time, I fucking hate metal. I can't stand it. And you're like, okay, you're in a huge metal band, bro. I don't understand. If you hate it, that means you don't. I mean, what does that mean? What are you telling me? You know, maybe I'm overthinking it. I don't know. Maybe he's just saying new bands are horseshit. I don't know. But I don't have those feelings. No one in the band has those feelings. We're fucking metalheads. We love metal. We love metal coming in. We still love metal. And so I think that's probably not the case for every band. So that might be there's something to that too, you know?
Dude, I love it, man, because, you know, I feel like, yeah, that comes from, like, the place from my heart. You know, you're saying, like, you know, you guys really grew up in the band, and, you know, it just sounds like you guys are just getting better and better every album. And listening to this album, I'm always amazed, and I'm always amazed especially by deathcore vocalists, because I just don't know how you guys do it with, like, the longevity and touring. What when you did, like, your first big tour, did you have, did reality hit you with, like, how to take care of your vocals, or did you always know how to, like, stay controlled?
I mean, you know, I had the fortune of, you know, when I was younger, I wasn't playing a whole lot of sports. I was really invested in theater. I was a drama kid. I was always taking improv classes, singing classes, fucking dance class, improv class, comedy class, you name it. Like that was what I was always about. I loved, it came from my love for movies, and I think for a half a minute when I was about 10, I thought, I wanted to be an actor. Not that I had any idea what that meant. It just looked fun. And so I was fortunate enough to be able to do that stuff as a child. And then I think that, that sort of carried over, to be honest with you. And I still sort of, I guess the lessons I learned, or like the seriousness of like, I'm not just some dickhead on tour screaming in a bar. Like, I'm giving a performance. This is our show. This is our theater. Like, I take it serious. So I always did, not take it serious like, in any, dour sort of way. But, I was like dedicated to what I was going to do, and I was going to make sure that I was drinking water. And also, I was straight edge for a really long time all through that period. So I wasn't smoking or drinking. I had a passion for what we were doing. Even back then, from coming out of theater classes and where my mind was at with how I took film and TV seriously, as far as like I knew there was craft there, I still went on stage and was like, I want to give you a performance. At some point, I want people to look at this on the stage and kind of be like, holy shit, like these guys aren't up here faking it. Like they're going for it. They're giving it all. Like I can see these dudes are actually putting in a performance here. And whether you're there to see another band or you don't even know who we are, but maybe that performance is what made you check us out. Like, I feel like that's something that's always been important to us.
Bro, I freaking love it, man. I love this, man. I feel like they should do like a rock star movie, but instead of Mark Wahlberg, dude, they should have Scotty and Lewis.
Oh, God. I have some good stories, but I feel I'm better on the other side of the camera at this point.
No, dude, I absolutely love it, dude. I love hearing all those stories, dude. It's inspiring, and I know a lot of musicians that listen to the show, and huge fans of Carnifex are going to be like, it's motivating, and especially like, it's crazy the music scene right now. Like, how much advertising there is, and like, I mean, there's times where I see like 100 new bands a day. It's just like it's a frenzy out there.
That's competition, man.
Yeah.
That's chum in the water. No, I love it, dude. And I got the question of like, what do you think of all the great deathcore bands coming out now? And I think it's fucking great, and also it's about fucking time. Like back when we were coming out, we were really discouraged from being who we were.
Yep.
Not just on forward facing, but the industry, man. I mean, you know why there's no gutturals on The Disease and the Poison? It's because the producer and the label didn't want them.
Wow.
They wouldn't let me. They didn't want them. Oh, you can't hold the mic like that. You can't fucking just scream right into it and do that dumb voice. No, they're not going to take you seriously. That's going to kill your chance for opportunity. Guys, come on. You're working with a real producer now. You're real musicians now. You got to move on from that stuff. Oh, okay, sure. Right? You're the fucking label. You're the producer. We're the idiots. What do we know? And we still had all our heart and passion in there, but it was just, we were discouraged from being authentic for so fucking long. So I'm really glad that a band like Slaughter, a band like Lord, they could put out a song that's super fucking deathcore, and guess what? People acknowledge it. They accept it. They're not getting hit with, oh, this isn't real metal, which I heard that for a decade.
Wow.
And I'm like, dude, I'm one of the most real metalheads you'll ever fucking meet. Don't tell me it's not real metal, So it was, I'm glad that that's fucking gone.
Yep.
And I really hope they can break down some walls, man. Like, who's that deathcore band that's going to get the Slipknot tour, or the Arch Enemy tour, the Lamb of God tour, the Behemoth tour? I hope it's one of them, man, because people got to stop this gatekeeping stuff on deathcore. It's really old.
Yeah, no, I feel you on the whole gatekeeping thing, dude. It happens all the time. I mean, I was a huge metalcore kid and all that, and I'd play with a lot of my friends and like older friends, I would say, like, or just people, in that generation that would like wouldn't call it real metal, but I was like, I grew up on Randy Rhoads and Metallica and all that, but I was writing metalcore. And but one thing to go back, like what you said, about like the labels having input. I remember that reminded me of a System of a Down, and I remember they didn't want to play BYOB. They didn't want to write that song, but the label pushed them to write a radio song.
Right.
So the first performance they did of that song, you could tell they just wanted to get off stage as fast as possible. They were not into it at all, and I'm just like, damn, man, and I heard the news that like they released a double album to get out of their record deal. I'm not sure entirely, but it was, I'm sure, once labels start having a lot of influence, it's like, stay out of it.
Yeah, hey, I will tell you, it's 1, and I got to get on this Zoom call for the next interview.
All right, no worries, brother. Scotty and Lewis, Metal Mixtape, Ashland, Oregon. Much love, dude, and thank you so much for the opportunity and the interview.
Absolutely, man. It was great talking to you.
You too, brother. Peace.
Later.